The New Generation programme really started, I think, with our 75th anniversary in 2009. And Gus Christie and I both sat down and looked back at 75 years of great success at Glyndebourne, but wanted to also look forward to how the organisation might develop.
We were really thinking about the future of Glyndebourne and where we were going to get our audiences from and where opera is going to be in 20 years' time, because who knows where it's going to be. And in order to safeguard that and to help us to protect our future, we devised the idea of this New Generation programme.
One of my earliest operatic experiences when I was just a 17-year-old was to go to the Royal Opera House and sit on the floor in the stalls and see some of the greatest stars in the world from one of the best seats in the house. And I really wanted for us to try and do something similar here, and that's really where the under-30s night started.
The ticket price did influence my decision a lot. I think had the scheme not been on, I don't think I would have been able to afford to come down here.
I must say the thing that appeals to me most in a way is developing new audiences, because I think giving people the opportunity to come and see live opera is a tremendous experience, and that is so important, which is not available necessarily to everybody.
I think it's really important to kind of get a habit of coming and be able to experience like the amazing music and staging and just being here.
The beautiful thing about the Under-30s night, from someone that stands in the pit, I feel this immense energy, this concentration, this sense of, even with a well-known opera, what's going to happen next?
It's kind of a bit of an institution, so I wanted a chance to see what that was like, really, and the atmosphere is great. Everyone's having a really nice time.
I think this is a very good opportunity, and I hope to come more often if it's a success.
Whilst we're very keen to try and get as many young people to come and experience Glyndebourne itself, we have to accept that for many people, for geographical reasons, it's simply not possible for them to travel down here to Sussex. But through the work we do with streaming opera and opera in cinemas, we can reach a far, far wider audience across the country.
I think the big screen is wonderful. It's a totally different experience.
Everything's really big, up close and very loud.
The other thing I think we hope to achieve is a further development of Glyndebourne and its relationship with artists, so that looking forward, we'll be able to see that we've continued that great tradition of artists who've started their careers at Glyndebourne, not just with regard to singers, but also relating to directors and composers and designers, that there's a pathway for all talented young people through Glyndebourne for the future.
A massive, if not the main element, I think, of the Young Artist Scheme is the one-to-one mentoring that we get.
You have coachings, acting coachings, you have vocal coachings, but you have also concerts, you have also practice on the stage. So that's an amazing thing.
I can think of no better example of what Glyndebourne can do for a young artist than the example of Robin Ticciati. It was only in 2004 that Robin arrived here at Glyndebourne, and just 10 years later, in 2014, he will become our new festival music director.
I think as someone who will be responsible for the musical and artistic standards of this building, when I come in 2014, I also want to ensure that there is a programme where we can nurture the best young talent across the board. And without that, we can't ensure that this art form has a longevity.
Luke Stiles is our second composer in residence, and we saw an opportunity for a talented young composer to immerse themselves in the world of opera over a period of time. Opera is a very difficult art form to get your head around. It's a difficult one to understand, and composing can sometimes be a very lonely experience. So the chance for somebody who's interested in developing a music theatre career to actually sit in a rehearsal room, to watch opera, to write opera for young people is one that I think is really highly valued.
There's very few programs out there that allow a composer to take the time to write an opera, which takes a large amount of time and energy, and there are lots of everyday distractions that without programs like this make that impossible, essentially. So it gives you the conditions to write works that wouldn't otherwise get written.
It's a popular misconception about opera, I think, that it's somehow a rather restricted and narrow art form, whereas in fact it's one of the most inclusive of all performing arts. It involves theatre, it involves dance, it involves music, it involves design. So it's great that young people at Glyndebourne have an opportunity to get involved in all these areas, whatever their age and whatever their ability.
There are all sorts of ways of doing that, and we've been trying to do that over the years. I mean, we started our education department in the mid-80s, which was to engage with our community and to show our local community what we're doing and to try to entice them to come and give us a go.
The New Generation programme gives us a freedom to plan large-scale projects, experiment and fund events such as family workshops which take place here during the festival and also out on tour.
So our story begins at a birthday party of a young child. Can I have a volunteer?
It was very fun to start with, and it's nice that they include the kids and the parents, of course. It's just really nice for them to take part and know the storyline and everything. It's brilliant.
We thought it was important to actually look backstage and look at the people who you don't necessarily see in front of the curtain, but the people who are also key to making this place tick over. And I'd like to think that we're also a great place for a young professional administrator to work, or a young costume maker, or a props maker. And so we're thinking of all sorts of different ways in which we can engage in the backstage areas. And I think it's really important, if we're serious about training and developing young artists, that they have the right facilities to work in as well. And one of the most useful developments of the last few years has been the rebuilding of the Abott Room. This is now a wonderful space for youth groups to meet, for young artists to perform, for people to experiment, and for people to discover and nurture their talents.
The new facilities, as someone in the audience in the Abott Room, it is just lovely to be able to sit there, have an uninterrupted view, which was a problem before, and I think the way with the bit that can be removed at the front, so that for people like me that come to the study day, that's fine, but obviously it's an easy rehearsal room to move that out of the way.
I think it's important that those of us, who come and enjoy it actually do put something back into the facilities that are available for the next generation to use.
I suppose the key thing is, what will success look like for us in the future? And I would hope that, in 10 or 20 years' time, we can look back and see that perhaps the audience for Glyndebourne has changed in a way, that a new generation of people have come in, and also that we've had a great success in discovering, as we always have done in the past, the stars of the future.